Today we're speaking with Espen Martinsen, Chief Commercial Officer at StormGeo, a company that's transforming how maritime industry approaches weather intelligence and decarbonization. Under his leadership, StormGeo has developed market-leading solutions that now serve over 13,000 vessels, representing approximately one-third of the global fleet. Welcome, Espen. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Joachim, and thank you for having me. We are very glad to be part of your reader blog.
Since StormGeo is well known already in the maritime industry, let's dive right into it. Your partnership with Bearing AI represents a significant step toward AI-powered voyage optimization. How is artificial intelligence changing weather routing and voyage planning?
Thank you so much for that question, Joachim. And I would like then also to start with talking about a little bit on the partnerships. You may mention our partner Bearing AI, one of the only partners we have to enhance our services, helping us with driving speed down curves and understanding the vessel better, which is one of many things that we're doing towards AI in the weather routing part. And we see weather routing now being really affected also by AI. We see the weather models being completely, what we used to be in a few years ago, we saw these weather models coming in with AI, and just, it's not all there yet. Suddenly we saw that they were gradually catching up, and now we see that these AI weather models are even more advanced that we can do with normal forecasting. So that has changed a lot. And I think, but when it comes to AI and weather routing, I mean, I don't see it so much as AI is going to change weather routing. AI is going to strengthen it, weather routing quite a lot. That's what we see. And weather has, of course, always been a very, very important part of shaping shipping. And the reason why I think one should say that it's about strengthening, not changing the weather routing is also if you go a little bit back in history and see where it all started. I think that's an interesting part. Not that we are that old, but we had the first professional weather routing service was actually implemented by Admiral Fitzroy, which was the captain of the sail ship Beagle, the sail ship that Darwin had. And he was the one also inventing the UK Met Office. And what he was doing was also at that time, they saw that weather was very unpredictable. Now it's even more unpredictable. And he started using the electronic telegraph to advise and say to vessels when something is about to go wrong, something's happening, to help them to stay safe. And I think that's always the most important part when we look into our part of the business, weather routing, voyage optimization. It always starts with safety. And I think that's not going to change the way we see it. The element of we are a cog in a big machinery for a shipping company. We are giving some advice, and we don't see it's fundamentally changing as such, because that advice will always be about getting this vessel and cargo in the most efficient and most safe way from A to B, from port to port. But we do see, of course, that the impact of AI is allowing us to strengthen this service quite a lot also. And we see that there's a new wave of AI coming in now, which I'll touch upon, but we have been using AI in the form and shape of machine learning for many, many years. You mentioned also in the beginning how many vessels we are doing, and we are serving, and we are every single year we are approximately routing 75,000 voyages. That is, we have been around since 1st of April 1997. So we have a huge base of data points coming from. So we have a lot of the data to use, and that's where we have always used the data pool to create to find a lot of data points via machine learning to help our clients to get the most safe and efficient voyage from port to port. And there we look into many factors which the human brain cannot do by themselves. That we will always be doing machine learning. So we are looking into these weather models I was just talking about. We are looking into normal forecasting. We are looking into weather factor. How does the weather be over time? We're looking into a specific vessel, specific vessel type. We're looking into cargo type, looking into draft. We're adding that also with more commercial settings, such as bunker prices, such as TCE, such as also time when you want to be at port. We are putting all that together, and then us having that sort of that big data point will also allow us to advise every single vessel, because we have seen all these routes before. We have seen these routes also sailing on these waters before, and using big data to understand that. That's also using machine learning on how to do that. And then what we see is that in a way it's always been the same thing as it has been back to Admiral Fitzroy back in the middle of 1800. That's about getting this in the safest way. But the more and more data we add into that, like you were mentioning, also having partners, we can do more and more for our clients. So Bearing is just one part, and adding to that stream of data, which we are building up in with machine learning, understanding better how we can give those advice. So that is what we are currently doing today. And then that has been around for some years with machine learning as an AI component. What we're seeing now is also that there is a new way of AI coming in. We're coming more about when we look into generative AI, agentic AI, where we see that is going to be a significant big change. And I mean, where that journey is going to take us fully is I think it's a little bit naive to think we understand that at this point. But we see the contours of that, the way that we consume the data points, or our clients will consume our advice will change dramatically. And also how we also hand over the advice in the future also change a lot, because what we can do with AI now is just mind-blowing, opening up our opportunities. And I think that if you see some sort of contours of what it would look like, I believe that what we will do is that we will give you a lot more precise advice. We will be much more personalized in what we can do on the advice part, and we will add a lot more data points into it. And maybe moving a little bit from I say, reacting to all data we see, going over to then predicting much more what's going to happen based upon many new different data sources. So I think it's an extremely important and exciting time to be part of the maritime space, and also be sitting in a company like StormGeo, owned by a big company like Alfa Laval, having a very long-term strategic partnership on how we can use all these data points and what that will allow us to help our clients to do even more efficient routes, saving more money from A to B. But going back to Admiral Fitzgerald, we will always stay focused on safety first, because that is the essence of why we are doing the advice that we are doing.
That's fascinating how AI is transforming the predictive capabilities. Speaking of strategic evolution, StormGeo has evolved from weather routing to comprehensive decarbonization solutions. What drove this strategic expansion, and how do these services complement each other?
The question also, it's of course a very exciting time to look into this decarb solution coming in, whether it's FuelEU, CII, EU ETS, and now I'm on net zero coming in. The reason why we stepped into this space is also, I think it came a lot from client request. I mean, the client were asking for this, and also, I would say, expecting us to be part of that. We also had a lot of discussions with different verifiers, helping us to understand how this market would look like. And then for us, it's a bit of a no-brainer to step into this space, because the way you have this decarb solution, all these things coming into play, we can affect that a lot. And now it's also costing more money. So it has gone a little bit from cocktail parties, where it's very interesting to talk about new fuel types. It's very interesting to talk about availability of fuel types, and we can talk about investing into big equipment, which is, of course, the long-term solution to this. But something happens when suddenly there's a bill someone have to pay, and then you have to look into real solutions right now. And what we are providing, the services that we are putting to market, is not going to drive decarbonization fully by itself, but we drive some very easy to implement solution, and very sound solution to do when it comes to what we are doing in voyage performance and vessel performance. So we're looking both into sailing the vessel the most efficient from port to port, but also how we are running the asset, and how we can improve the efficiency of that, as I said. So that is, for us, was quite obvious that we have the spillover between decarbonization and what we're doing is quite high. And then we also saw that this is a lot of complexity adding into this also, and then our clients needed support and help, because running a shipping operation today is a complicated world. It's a lot of things that our clients have to do all the time, and we have a lot of very competent people in StormGeo knowing these regulations quite well. So we saw there is a need, not just commercial, but in more of the customer service part, that we can be that advisor to our client, allowing them to understand what is the implications of FuelEU, what is the implications of CII, how does EUS fit into that, and how should we prepare for let's say zero. That is sort of the role we wanted to do. And then when we see that, how we can not only help the client understand the data, but actually drive down the decarbonization number, or improve, the improved decarbonization numbers. That has been very good for us.
You mentioned the integrated approach. That actually leads me to your other key partnership, the partnership with Awake AI for port congestion insights. Shows the importance of integrated data. How is AI helping operators make better decisions across the entire voyage?
I think it goes back to a little bit also started in the beginning. AI is helping with navigating a very complex number of insights. And sometimes these insights you have to take a decision. It's also a little bit mutual exclusive the things you do. Should I do more of that or less of that? You cannot pick both. So I think AI is helping also to help you to navigate a very, very complex world. And then you talk about, I mean, one example is what we have been doing together with Awake AI, where we are adding port congestion into our service also. So at the essence, what we are doing here is that we are using AI, machine learning, understanding what's happening at the port. And the reason for doing that is we want to give the operators some advice. And in essence, it's about should you speed down or should you speed up? Is what we're looking at. And what we're doing is that together with AI, we are then mapping out the port, a lot of different waypoints at that port where we are looking in via AIS data. We're seeing all the vessels that sailed there in the past. What sort of vessel type is it? What sort of cargo do they have? What sort of draft did they have? When they were sailing into these different waypoints, what were they doing there? How much time did they spend? And then we have mapped out, this is statistically how much time that vessel type having that cargo will be using at that port. And then what we are doing is we're taking all the AIS the data from every single fleet out there, heading towards that port, and we're saying now we know that all these vessels are going to come into port at this and this time. We know from historical numbers that this is approximately how much time we'll be using at each waypoint. And that allows us to calculate how many vessels are coming in now, how much time will they be using, and that gives us an insight into what's the waiting time of that part, how congested is that port. And by knowing that, the operator will know that it's not just about optimizing the sea leg of the voyage, it's also going into berth and saying when should I be at that part. So we cannot tell necessarily whether it's the right thing to speed up or slow down, but we can give advice that if there is sort of, you are pushing a lot of energy and fuel to get a very fast support, and you know we're going to be waiting there for a long time, maybe it's worth a while to slow down. Then you can reduce less fuel, you can drive decarbonization the right way. This is what to do. Or you can see, based upon all the vessels coming in now, if I give a little bit more speed, I can save time. And that is also us then combining our services to allow then the operator to take those actions. And there are many of these actions happening at right now, where that complex journey needs a lot of different waypoints where AI will help you. So we are also adding into that bunkers, for instance. So in that route, we can also advise you where is it that you should bunker up. Now we know the ETA, we know where you want to go. We know your tank capacity. We know what fuel types that we were looking at. We can tell you the prices. So you can also add that into the equation, and knowing the weather at that port, that allows you to understand also your ETA or much better, and you can plan even more. So we can combine all these different points all the time, and allowing them sometimes these mutually exclusive decisions to be made by adding all these data points, using machine learning to give you advice as an operator what you should do. And there is many more of these happenings right now, because there's also all these new technologies coming into place, where it can be difficult for a ship operator to understand what should I do now, because I have all these regulations, I have these commercial decisions, I have all these other things to look into. How can I absorb all this data and take a decision right now? It's almost impossible without support. I also have another really favorite topic on this. That's also looking into wind propulsion, because that's also one of these decision points where we know that using machine learning and data insights can help you to take a decision, which again can be very mutually exclusive. The purpose, I think, and how we can drive decarbonization with wind propulsion is a well-known one, because that has, going back for many years, we know that if you use wind as pushing the vessel forward, of course you can save fuel. But now we see a lot of very cool, very new wind technology coming into place into the market. We see it on all the vessels, and we have been part also as since we are owned by Alfa Laval, we have also been part of supporting projects such as the Ocean Bird. We have learned a lot how we can use that. And what we do now is we have in our onboard planning tool, Espen, we can also assist the client and say, what will the impact be if you use wind propulsion on that leg? And how will that also fit into your vessel type in terms of safety? So when you're planning these routes, what I'm trying to get to is that you have to then go into a route you normally wouldn't go to, because when we have traditionally given a route advice and trying to do that from a fishing point of view, we're trying to avoid bad weather. And of course, we're not going to send a vessel for wind propulsion to bad weather, but we're looking into a little bit different weather. We're looking into wind, we're looking into a bit more weather to get that wind propulsion also. So then you have a decision as a ship operator, should I pick that one route where I can use the wind technology and sail and save a lot of money, or should I take another route which is where we don't have the wind, We can also save by having less resistance in the water. And those decisions can be very, very difficult to take, especially if you don't have any tools or any other tools to help you to take that decision. That's also part of this equation. So when you're adding all this information together, whether it's and it can be in one journey also, where you can look into both this wind propulsion part, you can look into how you adapt into bunker space, you look into with our partners such as Awake, saying what will happen in port congestion. It's so much information you have to take a decision to. We are helping you to take all these data points and give you a nice advice. Also having people to discuss with, so it's not just data points, but there is also trained meteorologists, trained marine experts sitting in StormGeo to advise our clients. So that's a very long answer to how we are using AI to support a ship operator today.
All this data integration you're describing ultimately needs to translate into actionable insights for operators. Your carbon footprint dashboard streamlines decarbonization reporting. How important is making sustainability data actionable rather than just collecting it?
Yes, and I think that's a very, very good question. I think it's also very interesting. It's also something when we look into our strategic focus, where should we go, what should we focus on? Because it's, without a doubt, I mean, the last couple of years we have had MRV came some years ago, then we had CII, then you got EEXI, then we got FuelEU, I'm on net zero. It's a lot of new regulation coming into place, and it is also it's a lot of commercial opportunities, of course, going into advising on all these topics. And StormGeo is quite well known to having very high data quality, which we also share directly with other stakeholders. So that has been good for us. But it's also, of course, that you have this whole saying about garbage in, garbage out. So we have been working a lot with this data quality on our decarbonization solution. But we are also coming to a point where we say, okay, now I have high quality. I have the highest quality of data on my environmental data I can have in our solution. So what? Because I would also claim that just having all this insight, just having the exact data is not worth so much if you don't take any actions. And I think that's also what the core of StormGeo, where we are coming from, is also how we are doing a weather routing voyage efficiency part. And it's also about how we are supporting client with vessel performance and see how can we take those numbers down. So we are striving also to be that partner with the client where we say, it's not just about having these data points, but it's also actioning them and having this into one ecosystem where we can both see the implication of what's happening with the decarbonization. You can simulate your next voyage and see what the impact be, and you can also have access to tools that can actually take those numbers down. Because if you are adding a voyage efficiency into this, if you are looking into your speed settings along that route, if you are looking into how you're running your main engine, if you're looking into how you're running your auxiliary energy during that journey, you can actually not just see the numbers, you can actually reduce the number. And that is actually real decarbonization in practice, which I think is important.
These technological advances seem to be happening alongside some significant organizational changes. With new leadership and strategic partnerships, how is StormGeo positioning itself for the next phase of maritime digitalization?
Again, thank you for a very good question. I mean, that was a question that we also asked ourselves, because it's so many things happening right now, and it's so many paths and ways we could go. And I mean, of course, it's also very, very important to be close to the core, and that is also coming from this efficiency and advising clients. And since it is such a complex world right now, since there are so many regulations coming into place, since there are so many unknowns for the clients, we see that we want to be more than just optimizing. We want to be intelligent. So, and we are striving to deliver to the market what we call voyage intelligence, which is about taking all these different elements of information out and putting into something that's easy to action for the client. It's about taking all the things from before a voyage starts that you can simulate a voyage. It's about planning that voyage, how we should do it in the best way. It's about taking actions during that voyage. And it's about also understand the voyage afterwards. So we're trying to do that, giving you all those advice and being a trusted partner, which is, of course, why having a lot of data points is important. Having a lot of partnerships is important. You mentioned Bearing, mentioned Awake. That's been a very good partner for us. We have also other partners in different parts of the equation, like Kongsberg helping us with high frequency, Dalnek helping us with high frequency. We have a lot of verifiers such as Class and Case and helping us to complement so we can give a good advice to the clients. So we are putting all that into one ecosystem, and we know that what StormGeo is delivering is one part of the value chain. We want to be very good at that, taking some data in, giving you some good advice, and allowing you to take that data to the next step. And of course, we are talking a lot about AI, we're talking a lot about data points, but we also believe that the gold mine in StormGeo is the people. And that's when I go into the office every morning, and when I log into Teams and I talk to all my colleagues, that is what I'm most proud about in StormGeo. I have so many talented, good colleagues. I have so many intelligent people really understanding the maritime business from different points of angles. And these are the clients these are the colleagues that are talking to our clients, advising them, taking all this insight and saying, how can we action that? How can we help you to take actions? And I think it's very, very fun when I go into customer meeting and then people are saying, well, your portal is fantastic. It's good. It's giving me a lot of insights. It's helping us. Or your data quality is just super good. We can trust it all the time. That I like. But what I really love in we go to the client meetings and I open the door and they're talking about a specific person, talking about our people, saying, your performance team or your route advisory team or your CS team are doing so much to help us. And we like them so much. That I love. And we just did a customer satisfaction survey with one of the people sitting on performance team was mentioned, not just that this person had a very, very good knowledge, giving a lot of advice and support to the client, but he even said, this person is probably the most friendly, nice person I ever met. And I think that, for me, is also what we want to be in Voyage Intelligence. We want to be an advisor to our clients. We are not an expert on running a shipping company, but we are experts on a certain part of the value chain. And we want to be there with software, with people, and giving that good advice to our clients.
Let's talk numbers for a moment. You mentioned positioning for the future. Weather routing traditionally saves about 3% of fuel consumption. How much additional savings can operators achieve through AI-powered optimization and decarbonization tools?
Yeah, as I said, we see that traditional weather routing that gives you something. 3%, yes, we see between 1% and 3%. To be honest, that's where we see it's all depending upon the weather you're facing. So what we also see is that by taking that one step forward, we're also looking into these more voyage efficiency index, and that is about understanding much more about the route, not just picking the optimal track, but also picking the optimal speed. We call it variable speed. That means that during this voyage, we are slowing down or speeding up, all depending upon the weather we are hitting. And we see that by doing that in a good way and combining it also, I would say, with vessel performance. So combining, just understand what we're doing on the vessel side with the speed setting, we see that it's not uncommon that we take those 3% and go up to 6%. That is sort of course, based upon the weather we are hitting on that route. So there we see a clear impact of doing something which is also commercially smart. And what I think has been even more interesting and important to look into this recent time is I mentioned wind propulsion. What we see there we see a very, very high number on this compared. Then we see typically we can see a number between 20 and 10%. Have we seen in it's not so many cases yet, but that is what we're seeing. In average, I think we calculate that the number we have seen so far is around 13% of saving. But obviously, it makes sense because we're using wind as a propulsion instead of fuel. So it's super interesting. So that's using all these insights, and that's also why I think that in this decarb space, what we are offering until you have a green new fuel type which is available over, it's highly, highly efficient and very, very cost-effective tools to support our clients.
Those are compelling numbers. Taking a step back to look at the bigger technological picture, your partnerships with Bearing AI, Awake AI represent a significant investment in artificial intelligence. How is AI changing weather routing from reactive to predictive, and what new capabilities does this enable?
I think it is where we are seeing this is going is, of course, taking a lot of new data points together. And I think it goes back to a story about where we're starting off from the safety part. So what we are seeing now is that we can ingest more data points, like we talked about now, seeing port congestion, like seeing using AI on understand the vessel better. And I think that's where we can see a lot of things developing now in the right space.
Looking ahead at this digital transformation you're describing with new leadership and strategic direction, StormGeo is positioning itself for the next phase of maritime digitalization. What role do you see weather intelligence playing in autonomous shipping and the broader digital transformation in maritime operations?
I think that's a very future interesting question. We are definitely not close to that yet. As I said, there is many sort of questions to iron out what's happening at the sea, etc. But if I should play a little bit with AI and thinking, I think we are talking many years into the future, because I see so many practical challenges to that. But what you could say is that all these data points, we have all this information. We are doing a lot of this voyage simulation today. We have all these data points. We have partners, etc., happening along the route. What I can see us doing, and maybe this goes faster with the capabilities that anyone can imagine now, but what I can see with AI, and particularly when it comes into generative AI, agentic AI, and those new AI solutions, is that, of course, you can start to ask an AI to take actions based upon what we're seeing. And I think with what we have today in terms of the data sources and the infrastructure we have in StormGeo, putting all these data points together, I can also see that over time, by also transporting this over to a vessel, we have solution aboard a vessel already where you can actually simulate this route, where you can plan this route happening with weather directly from land. Then, of course, you could actually use this AI tools to start to take actions directly on the route, also instructing the vessel. So I think, yes, in a bit of this fairy tale thinking, yes, we can dream about that, and I can also technically see that this will be possible. But I also see right now, maybe it's also my little bit having this little bit tunnel vision, as we all do probably with where AI is taking us. But I see a lot of potential challenges with it. But I also think that AI will push us down the road one way or the other. I'm quite certain of that, but I don't think it will happen tomorrow.
Espen, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today and for sharing these insights into StormGeo's innovative approach to maritime digitalization. We appreciate your expertise and wish you continued success.
Thank you so much.